This is 43 of The Night Singer. 43. After her call with Rebecca, Hannah took one of the leftover pastries and went out to the coffee room. Last night's lack of sleep had finally caught up with her, and she needed an energy boost, both from the sugary pastry and from a moment or two to herself. 5 minutes. That was how long her break lasted. Eric came up the stairs from the cafeteria with a coffee in one hand. Hannah suspected he had taken a different route to make it seem like he wasn't following her, that he wanted to be alone with her. Maybe even apologize. Right now she didn't have the energy to keep stoking her anger. Eric sat down in the chair next to her and sipped his coffee. "You look tired," he said. "You too." "Yeah, bit of a late night yesterday. We've got surprise parents staying, and then I got up early to go for a run." Hannah glanced over at him. If this was an apology, it wasn't a particularly good one, though maybe she was the one who should be making more of an effort, speaking more, being more friendly and relaxed, making herself easier to like. But how? Asking him questions about his parents-in-law would only sound strange, and she really wasn't interested in his workout routine. Back in Stockholm, that had been yet another thing that had separated her from the others. After her year with the personal trainer, she had continued going to the gym in order to stay in shape for work, both physically and mentally, and she had enjoyed that. Physical exercise seemed to calm her mind, but she had zero interest in talking about weights or reps. In the end, Hannah chose the easy way out, simply getting up and walking away, telling herself it was because she needed to make some more calls. "Stop caring," she thought irritably as she got back to her desk. That had been easier in Stockholm. Back there she hadn't cared in the same sort of way, but she didn't want to be that person anymore, distant and shut off somehow. Hannah started with Lena, who told her that Joel had been called F-slur when he was at Guardby School. She had no idea whether it was true or not. She had never thought it was important, because she had never seen him as anything but a friend. Lena sounded blunt. "Has something happened?" Hannah asked. "My friend is dead. Aside from that, it's just my parents fighting." "What about?" "Stupid stuff." "So it doesn't have anything to do with Joel?" "Why would it?" "I don't know." "No," said Lena. "They're screaming at each other about a couple of sheets that turned pink in the wash." In the silence that followed, Hannah tried to make out the argument, but she couldn't hear a thing. "Is there anything else I should know about Joel?" "No." Hannah thanked her and hung up, closing her eyes and taking a few deep breaths before calling Nadine. The teenager exhaled as she answered, and Hannah assumed she must be smoking on the balcony. "I'll get straight to the point," she said. "Was Joel gay?" "Why?" There was a clattering sound, and Nadine swore. "I just knocked my cup over," she hissed. "Got boiling tea all over me. Surely it makes no difference if Joel was gay." "Probably not, but we need to know everything about him if we're going to solve this." Hannah heard clinking as Nadine picked up pieces of the broken cup, and she had to stop herself from telling her to be careful. The last thing Nadine wanted was for someone to start mothering her. "Sorry," Nadine sighed. "I can be a real bitch sometimes. I just really fucking miss him." "You're still in love with him, aren't you?" "Yeah, but I tried to repress it so we could still hang out." "Was he gay?" "If you're asking whether he liked boys, the answer is yes, but it was messier than that." "In what sense?" She heard Nadine take a drag of her cigarette. "Pfft, forget it. I'm just blabbing." Hannah drew a question mark on the notepad she always kept at hand whenever she made phone calls. There was something in this, she was sure of it. She remembered the flower and Karina's theory that the murder was the result of some kind of dramatic love affair. Maybe she had been too quick to dismiss the idea. "What do you know about Joel's relationships?" she asked. "Not a lot. It was hard for us to talk about that kind of thing because of, well, my feelings." Hannah wanted to pry open Nadine's brief answers. "What was the little you knew?" "I tried to set him up with a guy called Seb once, but it didn't work." "Full name?" "Sebastian Bianchi." Nadine took another drag of her cigarette. Hannah wondered how many she went through a day. The girl was only 16. "How are you doing?" Hannah asked. They were Ove's words, but unlike Hannah, Nadine didn't reply that she was doing fine. "Like shit, but I promise I'm not going to throw myself off the balcony." "Good," said Hannah, ending the call. She was convinced there were things Nadine wasn't telling her, but she also knew she wasn't going to get anywhere right now. Maybe the perpetrator was someone they hadn't even considered so far, and they would have to dig deeper into Joel's personal life. Hannah still doubted the flowers had been chosen for their symbolism. She couldn't see that Karina had added any updates to the report log, but she would have to wait until Monday to call her. She had absolutely no desire to bother Karina on a Saturday. Hannah called Fanny next to ask about Axel, and when she failed to answer, she tried her mother's number instead. "Yeah," a drowsy voice answered. "Hello, my name is Hannah Dunker, and I'm calling from the Kalmar police. I'm glad I caught you." She used her cheerful voice because it was always more constructive than her admonishing one. Her surname didn't seem to have provoked any kind of reaction. She was always slightly hesitant when she said it, but introducing herself by only her first name felt unprofessional. Besides, she didn't want to feel ashamed. "What's the little brat done now?" "Pardon? It's Fanny you're calling about, right? Is she at home?" "Fanny!" the woman roared. It sounded as though she were moving through the house. "Nope, her bed's empty," she said. "Where were you between Tuesday night and Wednesday morning?" Hannah asked. "Why?" "If you could just answer the question, please." Her cheery tone had started to falter, but in this case it probably didn't matter. She doubted Fanny's mother was susceptible to that kind of nuance. "I was here, asleep in bed." "Hold on a second. You don't think I killed that kid, do you? I know you've been asking around. Were you alone? Fanny was here too. Did you see her? I told you I was asleep. Are you thick or something? You didn't wake up and... No, what? Do you think it was Fanny that she... Right now, we don't think anything. We're just asking everyone what they were doing that night." Fanny's mother muttered something about the police being useless and slammed down the receiver. There wouldn't have been any point in telling the woman that her daughter had beaten up Joel on the night he died. That was one of the very few things they knew for certain. But then he had walked away, and at 12:34 he had taken a selfie in a bus shelter by Guardby Church. Hannah could see herself in Fanny, the person she could have become if it hadn't been for her grandmother, and maybe that was why she felt such an urge to protect her. It wasn't easy to recover from being a murder suspect, even harder than having a relative who was. Hannah hit redial, but this time the mother didn't answer.